The 2024 Olympics are creeping up on us, which means you likely been seeing highlights and some lowlights from several international competitions that you didn't know existed. And I consider myself a pretty hardcore football fan, but that was an event recently that caught me completely off guard. When we talk international football in any capacity, 10 times out of 9, bro, we talking about soccer. The sport that actually makes sense to be called football, given the fact that, you get it. Despite that logic, over here, American football reigns supreme. The NFL is obviously the premier football league in the whole world, and the overwhelming majority of its players, well, they come from America. But kind of like the Dream Team did for basketball, the love of our football is spreading across the globe. The NFL has been putting on international games since all the way back in 2007.
We welcome you to historic Wembley Stadium in London, England, where better than 90,000 fans gather to witness the first regular season games played outside of North America. It's the New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins.
But other countries been honing their American football skills since at least a decade earlier. It's often been joked about, what would happen if we took American football and put it in the Olympics? We'll send our dream team over there with a full documentary crew assigned 24/7 to every individual player. That way we can get every angle and drop endless documentaries on the easiest gold medal in the history of the world. There's been a prevailing theory that we don't even need our best. We could send any American players over there and dominate everybody. Well, recently that theory got put to the test, a test that we failed with flying colors. Team USA lost to Japan in American football on June 26th. The score was not close, bro, 41-20. Bro, they dogged us, and most of us was shocked and appalled. So Japan moved on to the championship game where they would get to play for a gold medal. Meanwhile, Team USA would slide on down to the bronze medal match versus Austria. Now, the American team coming home with bronze in American football would have still been met with some pushback, But the only thing worse than getting bronze in a sport we thought we would dominate is actually not bringing home a medal at all. When I saw this, I had the same questions you probably had. Bro, how, How does this happen? Who is on the roster? How'd they get picked? And exactly how good are these dudes we playing against?
Picked off on the far side, and it is Higashida.
Today we're gonna be talking about all that and more. So somebody please cue the damn Wayne.
Yeah, you'll never no quitter, 'cause I'ma go get her.
If you didn't know that international tackle football was even a thing, I promise you, bro, you ain't the only one. Most of the people I've talked to about this situation seem to believe this was the first year this ever took place. But it turns out this competition has actually existed since way back in 1997. It's existed in various forms, and the first name that it was called was the NFL Global Junior Championship. The GJC was the predecessor to the U20 League where this beatdown took place. So back in 1997, the GJC started with one primary goal in mind: to showcase the football talent in Europe and Mexico that had been developing over the years. This was around the time that the NFL was trying to push NFL Europe to American audiences, and it was pretty damn popular out in Europe. But over here, people were unaware and uninterested. Then a dude named Patrick Steenberg pitched the idea to showcase the best players from Europe and Mexico, an annual clash between the two countries that each year would be held in the same city as the Super Bowl. Now, it would only feature players under 19 years old, so mostly high school seniors and college freshmen. And in 1997, in the inaugural game, Mexico drug Europe, bro, 30-6. The next year, Mexico won again, but Europe said, nah, hold on, bro. We ain't about to go out like we did the last time. And this time they kept it close. It was a 1-point game. Then in year 3 of the event, Europe finally took their first victory over Mexico. They ended up adjusting to Mexico's play style and walked away with the win, 29-8. By the year 2000, the GJC expanded from 2 teams into a 4-team tournament. This was the first year the USA decided to jump in, and our attitude's the same now as it was back then. American football, Americans dominate. It felt like Booby, you know what I'm saying?
Come on, man, this is God-given. Only thing I got to do is just show up.
So here's the 4 teams. Panama replaced Mexico. Europe came back, then America and Canada. And I don't know exactly what the over-unders were at the time, but I bet you that most people watching are assuming the USA would dominate. So let me tell you, man, do you know one of the most oddly calming things that you can introduce into your life? This is not an ad read, bro. I'm talking about history. For me, it's something about history that just calms me down. Because usually what happens is I start to realize that all the same stuff that we panicking over today has already happened multiple times in the past. And history gives you a clear picture of how it all worked out. So this is where knowing just a little bit of history can keep you from losing your mind every time some news breaks. So check this out, bro. The USA did not win the first time they participated in their own tournament. They actually lost to Canada 9-3. And I'm willing to bet that was more bad offense than good defense. But yeah, bro, 9-3, and Canada got the dub. Now that loss woke Team USA up out their sleep. After that, we won the next 4 gold medals in a row. But it ain't like we just took the crown and just kept it forever, because Canada came back and went on a three-peat of their own. So after 2007, USA and Canada, who came into the tournament at the exact same time, were now both tied with 4 gold medals apiece. And at that point, Canada had our number. Just so happened, in a hell of a coincidence, that after Canada tied the number of gold medals with the US, bro, all of a sudden, after 11 years, the NFL Global Tournament would cease to exist. Did we intentionally end it before Canada could pass us? Based on what happens next, it doesn't seem like it, but you can't lie, bro. That does seem like something we would do. Now, interestingly enough, Japan, who just smacked us, were a part of the JGC from 01 to 07. And while they most certainly held their share of L's, they did at least get themselves 2 third-place finishes. In 2008, 1 year after the final NFL Global Junior Championship, it was announced that it would be replaced by the IFAF U19 World Cup. It was pretty much the same type of thing, except for the fact that now different countries would host it. It would also now feature up to 8 teams and would take place every 2 years instead of being annual. Now in 2020, it went from U19 to U20, meaning players 20 and under could now compete. Due to the pandemic, it was postponed a couple times, and there was a 6-year gap where there was no tournament. During that time, the few American fans who did have the tournament on their radar likely forgot about it. Bro, do you know how much has happened in these last 6 years?
Yeah, it's been a little rough.
Then a couple weeks ago, the tournament just pops back up and we see Team USA getting smacked. But you remember what I said about finding some comfort in history? Well, while the majority of us could not believe what we were seeing, more regular viewers were a lot less shocked. When you look back at the results over the years, you realize Team USA ain't historically the most dominant team. During that first 11-year run, remember, we were tied with Canada for 4 gold medals apiece. And I'd honestly probably have to give them the edge, because when you look at it, bro, they won the last 3. There's been 6 more tournaments since the name changed from the JGC to U19/U20. Of those 6, Team USA has only won 2 gold medals. Meanwhile, Canada's matched their gold medal total from the JGC days, meaning that since this whole thing started back in 1997, it's Canada, not America, as the team with the most gold medals. And once again, it's important to note that Canada and America joined the exact same year. Now, the CFL is obviously a respected league. I'd say the second most respected after the NFL. But I gotta say, I was pretty surprised to see that Canada was just dominating us like this. But I think that knowledge alone kind of enlightens you to the fact that when it comes to U20 football, we are far from invincible. And while we don't recognize Japan for their football talent, they've routinely placed in the top half of the competition. They got 4 third-place finishes, and this year they finally got a second. So they smacked us and then lost to guess who. So Japan walks away with a silver medal, while Team USA walks away with nothing. Looking at the history makes this a little less shocking, but it's still pretty wild because 2024 represents the highest Japan's ever finished and the lowest the USA's ever finished. This is the first time that we didn't get a medal at all. During the previous tourney back in 2018, which due to the 6-year gap was the one right before this one, Team USA came home with the bronze. Didn't even make the gold medal game after losing to Mexico. Now, the issue's not a complicated one. We just don't take it serious. We simply don't approach these things with the same level of commitment as many of the opposing teams do for whatever reasons. With that said, I think you gotta give these other countries some credit. They've been building and improving, and they can definitely play. So man, look, shout out to them, bro. This is why we play the game. It ain't played on paper. But let me tell you why. Even if this thing was played on paper, there's a pretty good chance that we'd still lose. See, for one, bro, you actually have to pay to play. And I'm not sure how much or if it's anything significant. But if you representing a country with all these rich bastards, somebody should figure out how to get the fees taken care of. If a good player plays ball like anywhere else, including college, money goes into your pocket. But if you want to represent the USA in the U20 tourneys, no matter how small the amount, is coming out of your pocket. And listen, bro, kids are trained by the leaders of this country and us, the adults. They're taught that money is king. So don't try to blame the kids and say, well, they should just want to represent the country, when almost everything they see us do ends with $1. I mean, just look at how we treat rich people. We treat them like they're more than. You see people going crazy over the personal lives of random celebrities every single day. So I'm not saying that you need to pay them directly, but you need to find a way to incentivize better players. Now listen, bro, I didn't look through the whole damn roster, but I picked about 10 people off it at random. Of those 10 people, not a single one of them was even a 4-star recruit. They was all 3 or lower. On one hand, I think it's dope because they're getting an opportunity to go and get some film in international play. You representing the country, to me, that's a pretty big deal. But if they're getting beat like this, how much does it help them? Past teams have had several future NFL stars, and maybe this year's team will seed some as well. But cats like Tyrann Mathieu, Jonathan Taylor, Jordan Poyer, and Chase Young, these wasn't no small-time recruits. And when your starting quarterback is a 3-star recruit, and again, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on the smaller recruits. I was a smaller recruit myself, so don't take that the wrong way. But the fact that the starting quarterback is a 3-star recruit means there's a bunch of good players who either decided to pass or weren't presented the opportunity to participate. I use the quarterback as an example, but more importantly, they have to prioritize and incentivize better trench players. The O-line and the D-line got dominated versus Japan, and no matter how good your skill players are, that's a recipe for disaster. Then the other thing, and possibly the most telling, with me saying that America didn't take this seriously at all, was talked about by the USA coach after the loss to Japan. Now listen, bro, what he says tells you all you need to know. He said, quote, "Japan's been practicing for months, while we have had only about 5 practices." I thought to myself, 5 practices, bro? You gotta be exaggerating. Y'all probably didn't have a ton of prep time, bro, but 5 practices? But nope. Right here on the official website, it says training camp is June 14th through the 19th, and the very next step is international competition. Oh, and by the way, our mission is gold. Bro, do you understand how much audacity it takes to put these two things right next to each other? If this was flag, I can understand a little more, but this 11-on-11 tackle football. This is why I say we can't be taking this thing too seriously. Beyond roster construction, less than a week of practice is wild.
We got 39 days or so to get locked in to go get this gold medal.
The American football schedule can be pretty crazy, but we gotta find some more time to get these kids better prepared. Like you're sending them over there after 5 whole practices and expecting them to dominate teams that actually take this serious. We actually saw the same thing with Team USA basketball. Again, taking comfort in history because we know what happens next. But it's like we own these sports for so long that we just become complacent. But the rest of the world is catching up fast. Now it's already been announced that flag football will make its debut at the Olympics in 2028. So if we don't get our revenge in tackle football, we are for sure getting gold when it comes to flag. I say that because the NFL is already encouraging pro players to participate in the next Olympics. You know, the NFL's been trying to make their brand more global. So yeah, once again, bro, money's the motivator. But several NFL players have already expressed interest, so we might finally get to see the big dogs pull up. If we lose that one, then you can pay.